Calling all nerds. This is your Nerd Alert Podcast, episode 6, where we are for real in different houses. This isn't a joke this time.
We figured out the audio. It took us 6 episodes, but we got it.
Yeah, so we are for realsies, not in the same house. There's no gag here, and hopefully no internet issues, but we'll see. But yeah, so welcome. I am Tyler, also known as Mr. Teenager on so I don't know, platforms, socials. I haven't figured out the intro to these things yet. And joined with me is my partner in crime, co-host himself, the Mad Max. Say hello, my friend.
Ooh. I like that intro. Hey, everybody. Max Sandberg. As Tyler said, go by Mad Max 528 on Instagram. And that's about it. That's the only social. There we go. We have the Calling All Nerds accounts on Twitter and everything.
That's right. Yeah. That's the only one we need now is the Calling All Nerds at Twitter or Twitter at Calling All Nerds. We'll learn how to do these plugs eventually.
Hey, let's do the plugs right now. Where can people find us?
Yes. So, friends, if you're watching us live, you can do ! Podcast inside of the chat to be able to see where you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, and maybe Twitter, or at least YouTube. On all those platforms, Calling All Nerd, you will find us. You'll see a beautiful cover image of a light shining into the sky, calling all nerds to come listen to us. Or if you're on Twitter, at Calling All Nerds Alert, correct? Is that right? Calling All Nerds Alert?
Yeah.
Boom. Yep. That's how we do it. And we're also live on Twitch right now, / Mr. Teenager, because we haven't made one for Calling All Nerds.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's callingallnerdsalert@gmail.com if you ever want to reach out to us with any questions or anything like that.
Boom.
I really, I got some chills when you were doing that. I'm going to write something down for an intro that we can do for next week. But I love the idea of the beacon in the sky calling all nerds to our podcast.
Yes, for sure.
We love talking about all the nerdy stuff.
We definitely do. And speaking of the nerd stuff, if you follow me on Twitter, you kind of know I kind of released it, the fact that I have started a new job this week. With that being said, my ability to look out onto the interwebs on what's going on in the gaming world has been very light this week for me. Max also said he had kind of a light week as far as the gaming stuff goes, but Mad Max himself is insane, and he did find some topics for us today. So Max, tell the crew, what are our topics today?
So we actually have 2 main topics today in terms of gaming news. One's really big, one kind of small. And then we're actually going to do something really fun that we're going to do on light weeks in gaming world like this, where we are going to give some top 10s of our favorite things in entertainment. And so this week, what we are planning on doing is both sharing our top 10 favorite movies of the last 5 years. So these are just movies that we've really enjoyed. Doesn't mean that they're our top 10 movies of all time.
Correct.
Just in the last 5 years. But I was talking to Tyler about it today, and I was thinking, it would be really fun if on weeks like this, when news is kind of light when it comes to gaming, that we do something really fun when it comes to other pieces of entertainment and just kind of share more about ourselves and what we enjoy. And I think top 10 lists like this sound really good. I know that at the end of this year, we plan to do our top 10 games of the year of 2020.
For sure.
So I thought this would be kind of a good introduction to doing something like that. But before we dive into those topics, one of them being that we have now received reviews. They're out in the wild for both Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5.
Yes.
So we're going to be comparing the reviews that we've seen online, talk about some oddities that we're seeing with PlayStation inside.
Accurate.
As well as Tyler has some news about Pokemon TCG that he wants to share as well. I believe titled Vivid Voltage.
Yes.
Which I don't know anything about that, so he'll definitely share all that news. But before we dive into that, I'm actually going to throw a curveball, and I'm going to ask the question of the week that we always ask right at the top of the show. We kind of come up with something at the top of our mind, and I don't know. I kind of in our top 10 movies thing. I've been in this movie space all day. And I want to ask the question, what is your favorite Disney movie? Like Disney animated movie?
So my favorite Disney animated movie I've always like kind of faltered between two. I really love Hercules. As a kid, I watched Hercules a lot. I really am not 100% sure why, because when I watch it now, I still love it. I just like, I don't know. I'm always just like, why was this my favorite? But I know it always has been. And I just like respect that. I guess, I just have this like respect that Hercules was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And then like one that really drew me in a lot now, and mainly because of the animation and how this movie to me was like the turning point for like this new Disney style of animation, was Tangled. So you remember when Tangled first came out? It was like they just started doing the like bigger eyes and like more rounded faces, and the animation was clean. And so for me, that's one of my favorite ones, because I feel like that was just like the turning point when just animation style, and I don't know if it's called graphics, but graphically like Disney movies just went bam and just killed it animation wise. So Tangled's been a really big one for me. So storyline is cool too. I mean, I don't mind it, but just visually, they got the lights in the sky that look really good. And whenever they're like first exploring like the forest, the colors are really vivid. I think that show or that movie, so good.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that, because Tangled is actually my favorite Disney movie as well.
Hey, not planned. Not planned.
Right? For the longest time, before Tangled came out, Hunchback of Notre Dame was actually my favorite. Mostly because I loved the music in that movie. It was just so freaking good.
I feel like that's not a big fan fave for a lot of people. I like that you like that.
Yeah, it's really not, but you know me, I like more of the darker tone stuff, and so like,
I think it's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, so Hunchback of Notre Dame, definitely not it's not a kid friendly movie. I don't know how this got released as like a G movie.
Yeah.
But like it is dark as all get out. Probably one of the darkest Disney movies, but the music in it is just out of this world. It's really great, but it has been surpassed by almost the complete opposite type of movie, Tangled. I agree. If Tangled had come out in the last 5 years, it would be in my top 10 list, because there's just something about this movie. You're right. It kind of debuted the new golden age of Disney movies that we hadn't seen since, like, I think Lion King came out. The animation was so and it was so crisp. The hair, everything was. I think at the time it was the most expensive movie ever released as well, because of the hair quality, probably. But there's just something about that movie that is so bright and so positive and loving, and just it just lights my heart up every time I watch it. I never get tired of watching it, because it gives me that warm fuzzy feeling inside when I watch it, and it hasn't gone away yet. And so I put a lot of love in that movie for that. And honestly, all the movies that have come out since have yet to kind of hit that standard for me again. They've all been good, but none of them have reached that tier of Tangled ever since that was released. But
yeah, to me, whenever it came out, I remember Tangled first hitting. I don't know. I don't think I watched it in theaters. I don't remember when I watched it, but I just remember the first time I watched it, I knew, and I even said, I was like, this is a new gold standard for Disney films for me now. Just the way that it was done. Like, even though it was I don't like to say it, but like your typical, the girl and the guy, the romance, the princess, like, even though it still followed that scheme, something about it felt fresh for me. I don't know if it was just like him being a bad or like a thief, and then I don't know, just something about it, like his character development. I just really liked. The comedy was really good and like wholesome. I think like all the little animals were really funny together, and like the bar scene is so funny. It's so like wholesome too, where you see all these like big burly scary guys and they're all singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff. But
it's so great. And I think what's funny too is I was trying to think about it because you're right. The movie actually came out 10 years ago. I think it came out in either 2010 or early 2011. And the only reason I know that is because one of my very first dates with
2010.
Ruthie, 2010. That was the year I started dating my now wife. And that was our first date, was to go to and see Tangled together. And it was really great. I'll never forget
That's
that
adorable.
night. It was really fun.
That's so cool.
Thanks.
Wow, 10 years. How long have you guys been married?
Man.
6?
We have now been married 6 years. Yeah.
Wow.
6 years.
That's pretty dope. That is pretty dope. Well, there you go, folks. Those were our... Surprisingly, I'm kind of excited. We both had the same favorite Disney. I like how we both had one and then it changed. I think it's great. I think it's great. Cool. So, Max, you have been the one that have been kind of keeping an eye on the console game here. Would you do the honors of kind of kicking us off on the Xbox reviews and the PS5 reviews, and maybe we'll just start doing some comparisons?
Yeah, absolutely. So, just like Tyler said, to start off, reviews have been coming in for the Xbox Series X and the PS5 today. Xbox Series X reviews came out, I believe, yesterday or Wednesday, and then PS5 followed suit today, which makes sense because they're both releasing next week, which is crazy. I know, they're literally releasing into the wild a week from today. No, less than a week.
No, yeah, Tuesday and then Thursday, right? I think Tuesday is Xbox, Thursday is PlayStation. Wild.
And they're nowhere to be found. If you have not pre-ordered these systems, you will probably not see one until 2021.
Yeah.
And
unless you're lucky.
Unfortunately, unless you're lucky. I'm going to keep my eye out because if I can get one in December, I just might.
Yeah, I think so. Me too.
Yeah, because I mean it's $400. It's honestly super cheap compared to like, because I think for our audience out there, just so that you know, we're both going for that for the PS5. Unless something has changed on Tyler's side, but
digital edition, right?
Oh yeah. If I can get it, I don't need the disc.
Yeah, save $100.
Yeah, we're in 2020 now.
Yeah.
But I wanted to. We had like a review roundup of Xbox, and I kind of wanted to pull that up first before we kind of compare the two. So I was going to just do separate comparisons. And let me pull this up here. But just from different different gaming websites, I should say, the Xbox Series X has been getting solid 8 out of 10s. IGN, Ryan McCaffrey reviewed the console, and he said this bold and minimalistically designed box is quiet, compact for both the power it packs and especially how it compares to the PS5. Capable and loaded with convenience features like instantly resuming and cycling between any of your recently played games. The Verge's Tom Warren also gave it an 8 out of 10 and said, but the best part about this Xbox Series X is that it's not actually a PC. I don't have to worry about drivers, copious game launchers, or Windows updates ruining how my PC works. You turn the Xbox on and you play games. And then just one more from Jason Schreier at Bloomberg. There are advantages to springing for the new Xbox, though. The Series X can run at least some games at 4K ultra-high definition resolution and 60 frames per second. You need a fairly new television and a sharp eye to benefit from the former, but the latter makes a massive difference. With a higher frame rate, animations look smoother, controls feel more responsive, and the overall experience is far better. I think what's funny about these reviews as I'm reading them is now that I've jumped on the PC bandwagon, slowly but surely playing games on the PC, it's kind of funny how far behind game consoles are in terms of quality.
Yeah.
And it's kind of funny now that we are kind of seeing these consoles now able to kind of hit those same levels that PC can. Probably not all the way, but the fact that I'm going to have a console now that can natively run at 60 frames a second is kind of insane to me to think about.
Yeah, the smoothness is just nice, because that was, some people are always like, PC Master Race, PC can do this, PC can do that, yada yada yada. Sure, like
Right.
yeah, I play on a PC a lot, but I still respect consoles. I think consoles are great for just, dude, you just plug and play. Holy crap, that's amazing. Sometimes it's all you want to do, right? Or you want to do some couch gaming, whatever it might be. And that was always a big thing. It wasn't necessarily graphically, because I think games just look beautiful. I think they've all just looked good. Yeah. And so, but it was always just the 30 frames. You could just tell that there was, and I only could tell because, again, I was exposed to like 144 hertz displays and high refresh rates on PC and all that kind of jazz. And so, yeah, I did notice a difference going from like 100 frames or 60 frames down to 30. And it is very nice being able to see that both PlayStation and Xbox can have that. Now all we need is a Switch to do it, and then boom, consoles are great.
Yep. And then real quick on a PS5 review roundup before we jump into, I guess, the comparisons of the two. So for PS5, it has also been getting 8 out of 10s. 8 out of 10 from IGN, Polygon. These reviews don't have scores attached to them, but this is one from Polygon that says the PlayStation 5 has definitely met and has the potential to exceed my hopes and expectations for the next generation. The first taste of higher frame rates and ray tracing have been fantastic, and the load speeds are absolutely wonderful.
Nice.
New UI elements such as activities and control center also make everyday tasks easier and open up opportunities as well. And then VentureBeat also says the PlayStation 5 is a big investment, but early adopters won't regret their decision. Even in the era of diminishing returns, the PlayStation 5 manages to excite you. It's not going to fundamentally change the way that you play video games, but it's going to offer a significantly better experience thanks to its fast loading times and stronger hardware that you had with your PlayStation 4. And then US Gamer finally says, while the exterior makes a broad, powerful statement, the day-to-day use of the PlayStation 5 feels a lot like its predecessor when you actually gain our 4K and 60 frames as clear, consistent benchmarks for many games, drastically reduced load times, and the new haptics features of the DualSense controller are truly just unbelievable to behold. You have to play it to believe it. And so those were the big highlights that I saw when it came to reviews in regards to this.
Yeah.
It is exciting to me that both are getting around the same kind of hype. It sounds like both of them are right around that great 8 out of 10 range. Like I wasn't expecting either of them to just completely be masterpiece consoles. I don't think we've ever had something like that. Except for the PS2.
Yeah.
But
so good.
Right. But it is very cool to me that both consoles are doing really well. It seems like when it comes to reviews, but they're playing to different strengths. And I really like that. It seems like Xbox Series X is very much going for more of convenient kind of style of like, we're just going to give you more of what we know we do well. Whereas PlayStation 5 is very much going in a very drastic new direction, at least in terms of UI, in terms of controller, in terms of, SSD, everything like that. And so I think PlayStation is definitely going the more flamboyant range because the console apparently looks absolutely ridiculous. It's huge. It's massive.
The size is a little interesting.
Yeah, the size is big. Like I saw it. I watched a few YouTube videos of people unboxing it, and I cannot believe how big this thing is, man. This thing is bigger than the Xbox Series X.
Oh,
it's bigger than my
by a few, yeah.
And I was like, dang, like this thing is massive, like almost too big.
It's not very entertainment system like friendly from what I've been hearing people say either, like your entertainment system for like where you keep all your consoles and stuff, which is a little annoying. They do say that there is I think MKBHD, Marcus Brownlee on YouTube, he mentioned this on his unboxing. There is this little black thing, and that is the stand, and it does work both vertically and horizontally. So make sure, because it can stand horizontally on its own, but this little black like circle thing is meant for the horizontal like laying flat of the console. Yeah, so make sure you like keep that, because more than likely that's going to be the only way that you can fit it. For like me, I have just like literally an open section next to me, so it'll probably just like stand upright. But it is so funny that just how big it is, and not even necessarily like it's not like thick, like wide. It's just tall. It's a very tall console.
And I think it all has to do with the fans, because I've read a few different reviews saying that this thing is quiet. Like it is
okay.
really quiet.
Yeah, that's good.
Which, I mean, honestly, it's hard for me to take that to word granted, because I almost feel like it's just kind of the luck of the draw with some of these systems. You never know, like,
true.
How
My PS4 Pro blows like a racehorse, but apparently other people don't have that problem. Yeah. My fans kick in like at 170 RPM. It's insane how fast it is.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I honestly think it's kind of luck of the draw sometimes when it comes to that stuff.
Yeah.
But before we go into like the comparisons of the two, I wanted to ask you kind of if you had any time to kind of read any reviews for the two consoles, what your thoughts were, if you were kind of thinking that one kind of beat the other in a certain way, or if they're kind of on the same kind of ground.
So my opinion for usually whenever it comes to who won, whenever it's E3 or if it's like maybe not Game Awards, but like E3 and like things like that, whenever people are like, oh, Sony won, or oh, Square won, or oh, I've always had the same opinion, and I think I still stick to that for this too. I just think that gamers won, truthfully, when it comes to these two consoles. I don't think number one is like one of them won with a W over the other, only because like you really do have dedicated Sony fans and you have dedicated Microsoft fans, and for them these consoles are perfect for them because they're both upgrades from the previous one. They both have two great options when it comes to like a monetary perspective. One has the good exclusives. One has just like a lot of games to be able to access. They both have their digital. They both have their disc. You can save 200 or save 100, 4K capabilities, and that whole deal. And so I think like truly, and I mean this, like can't express it enough to anybody listening, I don't think either one. My personal opinion is that just gamers are winning, and I think it's the greatest thing in the world. I can't be more excited because I know people who are very picky on their console and they only get Xbox or they only get PlayStation. They refuse to even try a PC or even refuse to try like a Switch or anything. They're just, just on these consoles. And those people are the ones that are really winning from it. Like, because they're just dedicated fans, like you got this guy who's had Xboxes his whole life and refuses to get anything else. Dude, cool, you got a good one. Or you got a guy who's been playing since, still plays on his PS1. And it's like, cool, you got a good PS5 now if you want it. And so I would say to me, they're even. And I've really, really enjoyed seeing that these reviews have been in the same range as far as their numeric value that they're beginning. I'm excited to see that, and I'm glad to see that these reviews are not like taking the bias into things. Like it's good to see reviewers really making sure like, how really is this console? I think it's really good. It's doing good. It does the 4K, it does its frames, blah, 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 blah. And they're not like just saying like, well, Sony's got Miles Morales and my Xbox can't even play Halo on the day one. 2 out of 10. So I'm just like glad I'm not reading that kind of crap.
Why does that voice sound so familiar to me? Sounds like something from Cartoon Network or something. My Xbox. I love it. Awesome, man. Well, let's dive into the comparisons of kind of like how we were talking about different strengths. I found this really good article from IGN, written by Ryan McCaffrey and Jonathan Dornbush, of just kind of comparing the two and how they play to their different strengths, how one is better than the other in certain aspects. But I wanted to just read through a few of these. I won't like say it word for word, but just skimming real quick. Before we get into the oddities of these systems that we've heard about.
Yeah.
So the first thing is the Xbox Series X is very adaptable to your home setup. So if there's one thing the PS5 is it's big. But what exasperates exacerbates the issue is that the Xbox Series X is a more powerful console, that it is just as quiet and runs just as cool in a much smaller form factor. And in a vacuum, that would just be a fanboy talking point, but the real-world implication of the PS5's size is that it genuinely does not fit into a lot of living room entertainment centers, like you were just talking about, Tyler.
Yeah.
Whether it's tall or laid down horizontally, in short, it fails the IKEA test. I love that. So, in terms of home setup, Xbox is definitely the winner in that regard. This is an interesting one. The PS5 prioritizes getting into your game. So the PS5 has a custom SSD, and it's the real deal, apparently. So it takes under a minute to get from the console completely off to being perched atop a building in Miles Morales. The speed is startling to experience as someone who has been grappling with PS4's UI and slower load times, and it is an absolute game changer in breaking down the time it takes to get to what these consoles are meant to do, play games. Aside from mercifully limiting my time on Twitter, it's a speed that's present through the experience. Switching from Miles to, say, Astro's Playroom is even quicker, letting me jump between them in seconds without ever leaving a game, thanks to the new control center. More than that, the PS5 UI prioritizes ease of getting into your game. There are no extraneous up overlays and other features like the create button or a quick resume feature. It's just absolutely amazing. And that custom SSD on PS5 means something like Miles Morales erases load times. Fast travel is near instantaneous, and Miles enters and exits indoor locations without a hitch. After playing on PS5 for even just a few days, I can't imagine going back to a PS4.
Wow. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to take a break. I know. I want to take a break and kind of talk about that because honestly, I think Xbox does it as well. But it sounds like PS5 kind of has that, at least according to reviews, has that kind of more of a step up in regards to that speed. But I can't even imagine playing games like that. You know, I think that's the thing that we kind of talked about. This console generation, I feel like, is more about convenience. You know, I don't think we're going to drastically see different quality of what's the word I'm looking for here? Like game design. Like I don't think we're going to see visuals that are just unbelievable, like a complete step up from PS4, at least until the later years. But right now, you know, the fact that we can get into a game in less than a minute, whereas before, I mean, I feel like ever since the PS3, PlayStation's UI has been absolute garbage.
Yeah.
And it's like something that you've just kind of lived with as a PlayStation fan, but now it's completely changed. And I think more than anything, that's what I'm most excited about, is that I can switch between these games instantaneously, never having to close over the other. That's absolutely insane to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a big step up because, I mean, at least from like the PS4, I've always complained about the PS4's UI. I always just have such a hard time maneuvering around. I think maybe 2 podcasts ago, I was like talking about how difficult, or maybe I was telling Julie about this. I was just like talking about how difficult it was just to change my profile icon on the PlayStation 4. I had some really old thing and I just wanted to get like a cool newer one. And I had to like Google how the heck to figure it out, because I was like, oh, let me just go to profile. Oh, let me go to settings. Where am I going in settings? And then I just had to Google it because I was like, I literally can't like figure it out. I don't know. It was just annoying. And then their store has always had problems, which I still always complain. I'm like, I'm literally trying to give you money right now. Why are you making this so difficult to give you $60 so I can buy a game? Your store never loads. And then every time like I load my console up, I click on a game, but it won't play because I'm not connected to the internet or some bull crap. And I'm like, wait, why am I not connected to the internet? Where's my internet settings? And yeah, so I'm excited to read that the UI is a big one, which I feel like as far as advantages go, That's a pretty big thing for Sony, because I've always thought the Xbox One was fine. I didn't really have any issues with like the Xbox One, and I don't think there's any issues with it now either, right? And so it's like, yeah, sure, Xbox UI is good. The new one's good too. Sweet. But like Sony, it's like, yeah, your PlayStation UI sucked. It's awesome that it's good now. So that's a huge leap for them.
Oh yeah, the fact that it would take like 5 minutes just to get into the PlayStation store is absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. One thing I will say though is, actually, never mind. We'll hit on that on the next comparison here, because I think we can kind of dive into some of the oddities with PlayStation here in a second with this next one.
Yeah.
So the next comparison is there's more storage on the Xbox Series X. So with this, the Xbox Series X has 802 gigabytes of usable storage space, which is significantly more than the PS5's 667 gigabyte space.
Oof.
That means the PS5 has 17% less storage capacity than the Xbox. And more practically, it means you can fit approximately 2 fewer big games on your drive. Worse, while the Xbox has an expensive 220 1 terabyte expansion card option, which is a ridiculous amount of money for a terabyte, the PS5 has 0 storage upgrade options at launch. They will come, but we just don't know when and how much it'll cost. So I couldn't believe this. So I was looking into this, and this is such a huge miss. I don't know how they didn't figure this out in time. But Sony confirmed 1 day ago that they won't support SSD storage. So basically what that means, just from reading this here, is once you hit that 667 gigabyte limit, you got to start deleting your games to make way for new ones until they figure something out.
Big rip.
Yeah. And, they didn't tell people this until yesterday. So people have already, bought like M2 drives, like different kind of external hard drives to like, and people are mad. They're saying like, well, now I'm going to return it because I can't even use it. I don't even know if you're going to accept it.
Yeah.
And that's just, it's just absolutely crazy to me. I think correct me if I'm wrong, you may know more about this on your end than I do, but with SSD external storage, I couldn't just move over like my external USB storage to the PS5 to use for like gaming space for like downloads, right? Like I would have to use the SSD. Does that sound right?
Maybe say it again. I don't know if I follow.
So I'm trying to think if that makes sense actually in my head. If I say like I have an external USB drive that I have from my PS4, if I move that to my PS5, could I use that to give more space for downloading games? Or does it have to be an external SSD?
Oh, got you. It sounds like all USB pluggables aren't working from the way that they're like claiming, but if it could, in theory, yeah. So like you could use a USB drive. Like I put anime on my USB drive plugged into my Xbox, and I just watch anime from a USB drive. I also put like video games on that same USB drive, and I can load games from that USB drive. So like in theory, yes, you should. Going from a PS4 to a PS5, there's like that debate where it might not recognize it, and it might be like, oh, you have to reformat and you lose everything on it because now you're on a PS5, which is a different like operating system or whatnot than your old one. But let's just take all those outliers out of it. The theory would be, yes, you should be able to use it. It doesn't have to be an SSD. It could be just like any type of external drive. But the way that it's sounding is like it's almost like you're at like a company that doesn't allow you to plug your own thumb drive into their computer because they think it's malicious or something. And it seems like that's like what it's, that's what it sounds like. It's like, nope, you can't plug anything to our PlayStation. We don't want you to hack us. No, get out of here. Big nope. And then Sony's Sony's like, yeah, no, you're good. If you want to plug one in, go for it.
What's the and this is just me not having as much technological knowledge as you, but what is the difference between SSD and, like, I guess
The HDDs.
the HDD? Yeah.
Yeah.
In
So
terms of their drives.
yeah. So HDDs are like the older ones, and so that is like a disc, and like a physical disc, like you imagine like a CD. And the way that the writing is happening on my phone's on, and the way that the writing is happening is, do you know how records are made, like vinyls and stuff? Do you know how that works?
No, I actually don't.
Okay, so the way it is there's like a needle, and this needle is like etching into the vinyl, and that's how the sound is recorded. Similar with HDDs, there's like a needle of some sort that is scratching into the disk drive, and it's storing things. And so whenever you delete something, you don't actually delete it because it's on that disk. All you're saying is like, hey, this part of the disk is rewritable, and now I have that space allocated to me. So that's how an HDD is. And so with that being said, there's like RPMs to it because this disk has to spin. And so I could be wrong, but as far as like a consumer level goes, like 7,200 RPMs, which is rotations per minute, is about a good high end for an HDD. And that translates in like a certain amount of speed per transfer. I can't think of it on the top of my head. Whereas a solid state drive is a solid drive. It doesn't use the disk. It's like it's all like electronic storage, so to speak, kind of like flash storage. Take Chromebooks. You know how Chromebooks, you turn them on in like 10 seconds they're working? It's because they use like flash storage. It's just like really quick, accessible kind of storage. And so SSDs are like that. They're a solid drive. There's no disk. There's no like rotations per minute needing. It's all like electronic, and that drives like the speed of things. And a lot of it is the read speeds. So you have read speeds and you have writing speeds. So writing speeds is like, how fast can I download something to this, as well as maybe transfer it from like one drive to another. And then your reading speeds is the whole idea around like load times. So think that when you have a game on an SSD, that game has all its files, right? You have all your assets, you have your levels, your characters, blah, 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 blah. And so with an SSD, you have like faster reading speeds. So you're allowed to be able to say like, okay, I've turned on the game and I'm pressing start. And so that disk can find and read, okay, he did this. Now he's hitting start. We're loading this, grab this, put this. What happens here? It can read that faster. That's what makes the SSDs fast, because they don't have to go around a disk to find it with a limited speed. It's just like crazy speeds now. So that, my friends, is SSDs versus HDDs.
The more you know with your teenager. No, that's perfect. No, yeah, that makes sense. I knew that the SSDs are like miles above like faster, which means this is why like
exceptionally faster
are able to move as fast as they do.
Yep, and smaller, a lot smaller.
Oh, that's always a good thing.
So like, imagine this size of this checkbook is like an HDD, and then like the size of this little guy is like an SSD. That's literally like comparing it. Like it's like big boy versus small lad. And that's like the big difference between these two. So form factor, you can have a smaller console, and well, you could have a smaller console if you wanted, but or you can have a big boy, but it's okay.
Yeah. I love it. All right. This one, I think this is the one that excites me the most. So the DualSense controller beats the Xbox controller, is what they're saying here.
Yeah.
Because of the haptic sensors, the adaptive triggers, apparently they're saying time will tell how extensively developers use these tools within the controller. But the way that these games play with it, Astro's Playroom simulates rainfall, or the coiling of a spring or skating on ice, is enough to make me a believer in the tech. Xbox has very much taken a if it ain't broke, don't fix it mentality to the Xbox Series controller. And that's certainly fine, especially considering how good the Xbox One controller is. But it brings us into more familiar territory where the DualSense pushes the act of play. It's quite clear the DualSense is more than just a launch gimmick. It can actively change the way in-game ideas are translated to our experience, truly a next-gen feature. And so I can't wait to... I think more than anything, I can't wait to get my hands on that controller.
No,
because, like, the fact that... I mean, like, I think they were showing it in the commercial. The way that you, like, knock back a bow or that rainfall thing, like, you can feel it all in your hands. And so it's just such a cool idea to me that that's going to become a thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it will... I actually, you know, I don't think it will, but you never know. I think it'd be so cool if I, like, say, play The Last of Us Part 2 on the PS5 to get the enhanced graphics. If I could get that haptic and that, like, that haptic feel, like, whenever I'm playing as Ellie. I don't know if I will be able to, but
that could be probably pretty tough from, like, a programmatic standpoint. I think it'll be utilized for first parties the most and probably for the longest. I don't know if too many third-party games are going to get into it, which I don't remember who I read talking about it. But one thing they were mentioning, maybe it was like Kind of Funny Games was talking about it, but it was like, yeah, the feature's great, and Sony is giving you what is it called? Astro Boy? What is the?
It's Astro's Playroom.
So they gave you that to start, like that's just like a free game. And it's kind of like, yeah, you just like get it with your console from what I saw. And it's a way to like show you and like showcase the console and like the experience that you can get from the new controller. Similar to like how like the Switch, when it first like came out, there were certain games really talking about like using the Joy-Cons in their fun way, you know? And I think first parties will do it. So, like, you know, I could see Miles Morales maybe having some stuff into it or whatnot. But the person was saying it makes sense that third parties might not for a while, because that's a lot of dedicated programming power in the sense of like people, because you have to develop for other games and other systems, and then you also would have to like allocate people just specifically for Sony's controller, and it might not be most cost effective and whatnot. So I think for a while, I mean, we'll probably see it with God of War, we'll probably see it with Horizon. I haven't read anything on Miles Morales, but I assume there's probably something with Miles Morales too that has it. Those like big major like Sony titles are probably going to utilize it the most. But that's exciting. I think it's going to be awesome to experience a new controller, which is so funny to say that, like, I'm excited for feeling a controller.
Yeah, no, I'm right with you there. I can't wait. All right, we got two more here. So the Xbox Series X, and this is, I mean, is more backwards compatible.
Oh, yeah. It's hella backwards compatible.
Oh, my gosh. The Xbox has been doing the work here, and it shows. Every Xbox One game works just fine on the Series X, and many of them run at higher resolutions and or frame rates on the new console. This also applies to a large catalog of backwards compatible 360 games that seamlessly work on the Series X. Even a sampling of original Xbox games has been brought forward from Microsoft's first gen to its fourth, including classics like Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic, which, by the way, runs in 1080p compared to the original 480.
Wow.
Sony has done a good job of playing catch-up with a lot of PS4 games now compatible with PS5, but you won't be digging any further back into PlayStation's past than that. And while the PS Plus catalog of PlayStation 4 titles is awesome, it still can't hold a candle to Xbox Game Pass. And that is so true. You know, that was one thing that I was kind of hoping PlayStation would do, and I feel like in some ways, sort of, they've kind of like taken a step towards that with this PlayStation Collection that they announced at launch of the PlayStation 5, where it's like, hey, 75% of our first-party titles, if you have PlayStation Plus, you can play from PS4. Well, not for free, you're paying for it, but like it's a big collection of games. It's about like 20 odd games, all really, really good games, like first parties.
Yeah.
I think there's like a few in there that aren't included. I think Horizon Zero Dawn isn't included, for example, which is kind of shocking. I could be wrong though. Or like Last of Us Part 2, for example, is not part of that collection. But it's still a good effort, but it's obvious that they're still not willing to go the route of Xbox Game Pass, which, makes sense. They don't really have to. They have their committed, like you said, they're committed fans that know that if they go with PlayStation, they're going to always have really great exclusives, which is unfortunately something Xbox can't speak to right now.
Yeah.
But Xbox is so much more just gamer friendly when it comes to backwards compatibility. It's not as complicated to get your games working on the systems. And the fact that you have this just large library of games that are like more games added every month is just amazing to me. Like it makes me almost want to pick up the Xbox One just so I can play through that catalog. You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially because you can get it so cheap.
Right, exactly. And like I may still do that. I don't know. Like having Game Pass on PC is nice, but their catalog for PC is not that huge.
No, yeah.
You still get some good games on it.
Yeah. And if it's on PC, it's on the console typically. Right. So then, which makes sense. They still favor their console, but they want to also have you access PC if you would like. But yeah, sure. I mean, is it surprising that Sony's all about the like play the new stuff versus Xbox being like play stuff, like we don't care, just play it. So
please just play games on our system.
Yeah, not like too surprised.
No, not surprised at all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like maybe Sony just assumes that most people keep their older consoles. And so they're like, well, if they want to play an older one, they'll have an older console. I don't know. Maybe that's like what their mindset is, but I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. And then the final note I wanted to hit on the comparison before we jump to the Pokemon thing. And this kind of goes into, if we wanted to talk real quick of just two launch games, one from each system, is the PS5 has a strong next-gen lineup. With the next-gen lineup, regardless of which console you're planning to pick up, is overwhelmingly filled with upgrades to current-gen games like No Man's Sky, Maneater, Borderlands 3, and more. PS5 also has a host of exclusives at launch that make it the most exciting proposition. The biggest surprise for me is Astro's Playroom, the free pack-in that no one should write off, as you said, as a throwaway experience. As I mentioned in my Astro's Playroom review, Team Asobi does a fantastic job of showcasing how the DualSense can make your game a total sensory experience. So it sounds like this game, like you said, is a free pack-in, but it's to really show off the performance of the DualSense. Yeah. And then, of course, you'll have the true next-gen showcase in the Demon's Souls remake from Bluepoint Games, and Spider-Man Miles Morales, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, The Pathless, and Bugsnax. Bugsnax. Which all apparently are all cross-gen PlayStation exclusives. So you can play all these games on the PS4. I did not realize that, but apparently Miles Morales, Demon's Souls remake, Pathless, Bugsnax, Sackboy, these are all going to be on the PS4 as well, which I find kind of shocking.
I didn't know Demon's Souls and Spider-Man. That's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't realize that either.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is it a free upgrade? Because I'd get that now just so I could play some.
I mean, that's a good question. I think we would have to delve into that more. I feel like they are not doing a great job of communicating how that works, that cross-platform compatibility. No. I would be shocked if you bought Miles Morales on PS4 that you wouldn't be able to eventually play it on PS5.
Yeah.
Like upgrade it for free, I should say.
Yeah.
I don't think I would want to play it until I was playing it on the PS5 though.
Yeah,
but that's just
true.
Me personally.
That's true.
But I mean, you should do it so that if you beat it, you can review it for us. And tell us how good it is. Which kind of goes into something I wanted to talk about real quick. I was wondering if you would be willing to talk on Assassin's Creed Valhalla reviews that have come through, but I wanted to quickly touch on just a few reviews that have come out for some of these games for the launch lineups. that I thought were very interesting. One being for PS5, the main one I wanted to speak up on was Miles Morales, which has gotten 9s out of 10s, 10s out of 10s. People are saying it's an excellent first game for the PS5. People are saying that, you can play it in 2 different game modes. You can play it on performance mode, where you can play it at 60 frames per second at like a slight sacrifice to the theatrics of the graphics and
so
everything
not like
of
a
the
true
world.
4K or anything.
That's a good question. I don't know if it's a true 4K if you play on 60 frames, but it still looks good from what they've said. But they definitely have said, like, if you play it in 30 frames, like, that's where you get the full, like, 4K quality.
Gotcha.
I don't know. So I think you still play it in 4K on the 60 frames. There's just a slight downgrade in the graphics.
Gotcha.
One thing that I was very interested to hear about for the game and thought was interesting was I was wondering how long it was, because you can buy this on its own for $50, which is cheaper than most first-party exclusive games on the PS5 now are going to be $70. They've upped the prices, which makes sense. But Miles Morales, according to how long to beat, you can beat this game in 8 to 9 hours. Just story on.
Oh wow!
If you go for everything, like I will, if you go to complete all the side quests, catch all the backpacks, whatever the collectibles are going to be in the game, it's no more than 15 hours if you really just kind of go through. Which honestly, 15 hours in total for like a full complete package, not bad. That's a good amount of time.
Yeah.
But I wondered how long the game is going to be. And it sounds like it's pretty short. It sounds like it kind of reminds me of Naughty Dog's Uncharted: A Lost Legacy, where it was a standalone title, but you could buy it for $20, and it only lasted like 5 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
So it's not super surprising. I kind of assumed, outside of Demon Souls, most of these first, release launch games are going to be on the shorter side, as they usually. But Demon Souls will probably be the one that has like the fattest time of play.
Yeah, probably just for like difficulty reasons too. Like Demon Souls is, trial and error as to figuring out how to like kill the insane boss that's in front of you. Whereas Miles Morales will be more linear, and there's probably difficulty settings anyways too, of like easy, medium, hard, insane, Spidey Boy, or whatever it might be.
Spidey Boy. Yeah. But yeah, so I just thought that was kind of cool that reviews have come through for it. It sounds like it's an amazing game. Just for people listening, be aware it is on the other side.
Yeah.
So don't be disappointed if you beat it fairly quickly, especially if like it's one game that you buy and you beat it in like 2 days.
Yeah.
Be aware of that.
Yeah. Yeah. And on the Valhalla side, the game is not out, but some streamers have been getting like early access codes. And so they've been playing the games. They can't show major sections yet, though. There is a limit to how much they can play. But from what I've been seeing, people have been playing the game on Twitch that I've been watching. So JP in particular is a guy that I watch, that he was playing it, and he got about maybe 5 hours into the game. And he tweeted out too, which I could probably find his tweet real quick. Let me see. It was pretty recently, but he just tweeted out kind of like a quick synopsis of like his day. And typically with these streamers, and I do know him, as far as a streamer, he doesn't take a bias, just because even though Assassin's Creed gave him early access, it wasn't like an ad. It wasn't like a paid promotion to play this game by no means. But so his tweet, it was an hour ago, as of whatever time it is right now, 8:40 Eastern time. He says, I had a really great time with Assassin's Creed Valhalla today. 5 or so hours in, and I feel like I've barely scratched the surface of the game. Can't wait till the embargo fully lifts and we'll jump back in. Thanks for Assassin's Creed for the early access. So it sounds like he was allowed 5 hours to play, which seems about to be the same for a lot of these streamers that are playing it. They've been given access. Maybe it's like a first mission or like a first little section. Now he says it feels like he's barely scratched it, so we'll see if that's true. Obviously, when like the full game comes out, we'll see like how big it really is. I know you and I have talked offline a lot about the Assassin's Creed games where they're massive, but it seems like too big, and hopefully this game doesn't have
that problem.
Yeah, and so like reading some of the people who like have replied. So for example, this person replied to his tweet saying, it was a blast watching. Looks like more Odyssey with some improvements and a better setting. Can't wait to see where the story goes. Definitely be watching you again. Other people are just like saying the same thing of like, had a blast watching. Think it'll be worth really getting this game. Looked like it was fun. So I mean, it seems like the people who watched them too enjoyed watching the gameplay, which I think is great. I've just always had a sweet spot for Assassin's Creed games. I got the first one on the 360 and I loved it. I thought it was really cool. I mean, it was the first game for me of its kind, of like the assassinating and climbing and doing all the cool like stealthy stuff. And then like, I don't know, I've just liked the games, and with the recent ones I've thought they've been improvements, but I still only get about like 5 hours or so into them, and I'm kind of just like, yeah, that was boring, but I only paid like $5, so I'm pretty satisfied with it. Or like whenever I think Odyssey came out, I signed up for Stadia. So it wasn't called Stadia though. It was like do you want to beta test this like Google video game streaming platform? And I got in somehow, and so I played Odyssey for free through like, I guess, Stadia's alpha stage before they even called it with Stadia, which is kind of funny. I'm just now realizing that's what that was. That's really interesting. Wow. So I played Odyssey for free, which I was like, well, I only got like 10 hours in, but it was free, so I don't care. So I always just try them out. I mean, I have meh expectations for all of them, and I just really hope that this one is cool, because I tell you what, man, they know how to do some cinematics. The trailers and stuff for Valhalla look badass. I mean, it looks fun.
It's hard because they have mastered the art of marketing these games.
So well.
It's like every time one is released, it's like, wait, I love Greek mythology.
Yeah.
And then I play the game and I'm just like,
oh man, not as cool as it was in middle school.
I love Vikings and like, and so it's like the time
they got that
period,
formula.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I just hope they keep improving on it. I heard a lot of people saying they hope that this is very like Witcher 3-esque in terms of its open world capabilities.
Yeah.
I would love it if it was that good. But I guess we'll see. I don't think reviews have come out for it yet. I think it comes out at launch, I believe, at least for Xbox.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it does.
So we'll probably start seeing reviews either tomorrow or early next week.
Yeah. Yeah. And then one thing too on the PS5 oddities, I forgot to mention this one. I found out that it's not having 1440p capabilities, the PS5, which is kind of interesting to me. So 1440p is like this. It's like you have 1080p, you have 4K, and then 1440p is like in the middle of those. So it's a little more crisp than your like 1080p. Obviously, it's not like at your 4K level by no means. And the reason why I thought this was just kind of weird was because the Xbox One S only supports up to 1440p. Like, it doesn't have 4K, which is why it's only like $300. But then like the PS5, it doesn't have 1440p compatibility. And I just think that's weird because I was like, well, if you do 1080p and you do 4K, but then you also claim that you can go to 8K, like why wouldn't you also, so 1440p they call it 2K, is like their 2K thing. Yeah, I was like, why wouldn't you also support that? And I will say, and this is just like a personal thing, I don't think 1440p is like massively popular. It really is more of like the PC gaming realm that you see 1440p standing out. And for me, that's what I use. So this monitor in front of me is a 1440p monitor. They've become a little bit more affordable than they used to be. And I don't have the funds for 4K. And I wanted to step up from 1080p. So I got like a 1440p. And whenever I play a console on here now, I could definitely tell it's like slightly stretched because it is trying to make 1080p look okay on a 1440p screen, you know, so it like slightly stretches it a little bit on that like vertical or the diagonal angle. So I was a little sad to hear, just because for like my personal use and like on my streams and stuff, if I wanted to stream off my PlayStation 5, which I totally want to, I don't think you're going to notice it from maybe like a viewing perspective on the stream, but like me playing the game, I'll just be like, oh damn, I can't like play it at a true 1440. So I've been like trying to figure out, like I have a TV behind me and I'm like, well, how can I maybe stream from that? And I don't know. So I just thought it was weird. I just thought, you know, that was, I don't know. I just thought maybe they would have that in. And so won't be a deal breaker for a lot of people. But again, it just seems random.
Yeah, that does seem really random. I don't know why they did that.
Yeah. Really weird. Yeah, and it was just talked about today too as well. Like how you mentioned that they just talked about like the SSD storage and stuff. Yeah, they just talk about now that 1440p isn't available. It's very odd how they've kind of hid this. In our live chat a little while back, there's a guy, Dark Castle, in my chat, and he's like, when we were talking about the SSDs, he says, yeah, I like to just think that they purposely held off announcing it to make a little more money off of them. You know what? Like, it kind of seems like it, right? It's like, oh, let's not talk about external storage and like other viewing parameters before the console launches.
Yeah, that sucks. What
the
heck, man? Well, that was really all just the big news from the reviews and comparisons of these new systems. I'm sure we'll have more to talk about next week once they're out in the wild and we hear more word of them. But yeah, that was kind of our big topic. Before we jump into our top 10s.
Yes.
Tyler, I know you wanted to jump on to Pokemon.
Yeah. So if anybody is kind of following the TCG realm for Pokemon right now, the way Pokemon releases cards is insane. It's like Angelina Jolie when she used to adopt a bunch of kids. And these packs, I swear, comes out like every other month. I'm seeing a new expansion. So this expansion coming out, which is hitting pre-release soon, it comes out on November 13th. So in the day after PlayStation, so Friday. It's called Vivid Voltage. So Pokemon has just been like, well, not just Pokemon, but like the TCG, which stands for a trading card game. That whole TCG realm, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, that kind of stuff has just boomed a lot because of COVID, people staying at home and all that kind of jazz. And so Vivid Voltage, which I will probably link this Bulbapedia article on inside of our inside of like the YouTube and like the notes later on after the stream. It just shows all the cards, and there's just some really cool cards that are going to be out in this expansion. So if you're excited about Pokemon TCG, I am. I usually like to get a few new packs. There's some pretty cool, there's like 2 shiny Pokemon you might be able to pull. They got some cool VMAX cards and whatnot. So not really too much to talk about. Just wanted to kind of say, hey, yeah, like I'm into Pokemon. If you're into Pokemon, you should definitely hit me up with some stuff. The new TCGs will be coming out next Friday. I would love to see if I could get my hands on some and maybe open them live, because I think it'd be kind of fun. But we'll see. So that's coming. It just seems like, I don't know, these cards, man, they just come out so fast. I feel like I just learned about the last expansion, and then somebody tells me like, oh yeah, don't worry about that, the new one comes out in 2 weeks, and I'm like, oh
my gosh.
okay. So but yeah, so that is the Pokemon realm.
Awesome. All right, well, I guess Tyler, if you're up for it, I guess we can. I think this is the first time we're ever doing like a top 10.
Yeah, we haven't done anything like this yet.
Gosh, I always like want to come up with like cool little like little jingles for our like segments, but
box.
Top 10. Yeah, whatever that is. It's fine.
So I was thinking of a way to come about this. I assume we're going to start with 10 and then go to 1, correct? Start like low end and then go to the top. Or
yeah, we can definitely do that.
Okay, so should we like, you give your 10th movie, I give my 10th, and then you give your 9th and 9th, so on and so forth?
Yes.
Okay.
I think that sounds good. For the sake of time, I don't know where our time thing is now.
Yeah, I was gonna say let's just focus more in depth, probably on like our top 3. We could probably get a little more explaining.
And then just do like a brief synopsis of our first 7.
Yeah, I would say just based off time.
That sounds good. Would you like to do the honors and start with your number 10 of our top 10 movies from the last 5 years?
All right, number 10 for me is, this movie came out in 2016, and it was the Warcraft movie. I am a big World of Warcraft fan. I'm a big Warcraft just in general. I shouldn't just say World of Warcraft. I'm a big Warcraft fan. And so when I saw this movie, I thought it was great. I loved it a lot. I thought like CGI wise, it was pretty cool. The storyline was fun. It was a memorable story that I knew about because I'm all up in that World of Warcraft lore. And so Blizzard's always had a fun place in my heart, and so I liked the movie. I was like totally cheering on another one. To me, this movie was like the Final Fantasy film that came out, so highly recommend it if you're into those CGI video game movies. The Warcraft one was a really good one.
Nice. So my number 10 is probably my favorite romantic comedy in the last quite a while, and I normally don't love romantic comedies, but that is Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, yeah, nice.
In 2018, this was not a movie that I expected to love, but it's just a really like fresh take on just falling in love with someone that you thought you knew, and then you go to meet his family, and they're crazy rich Asians, and they just have like that old money, like that money that like they could not spend all of it in a lifetime kind of money. And this movie is just all about showing excess. Amazing performances all around by Awkwafina. It's funny as all get out. A fantastic movie. Highly recommend you go watch. And you can watch it on Amazon Prime if you have a subscription.
Ooh, nice. That's cool.
Yeah.
So number 9 for me, this movie came out in 2015, and it was Mad Max Fury Road. So that is my number 9. I'm going to assume that is in a higher ranking for the Mad Max himself. So I'll let him talk more about it whenever that point comes. So my quick synopsis of it was, I thought it was dope and it was fun. So that's number 9.
That's so funny. You know me so well. So my number 9 is this movie. It's actually pretty recent. It came out in 2019. It is a crime mystery movie called Knives Out. And this is the first movie I've seen in a while that kind of did a brand new spin on the whodunit.
Whodunit.
Yeah, whodunit. And it's just, like I said, this is a movie. I love movies that just kind of go outside of my expectations, really show me something I've never seen before. And this movie is just so much fun. It's not really scary, but it's just really kind of cool, and you really don't see the ending coming for who did it. But I can't recommend this movie enough. Definitely go watch it if you have an Amazon Prime subscription. It is there as well.
Another Prime.
Yeah, Amazon's got some great movies right now, so sign up.
Sweet. Number 8 for me is an animated film. Came out in 2017. That is Coco. I love music. I love animation. And with Coco, just like the visuals, oh my word. We were talking about Tangled earlier. This is another, because this is Pixar, right? It's not Disney. It's like a Pixar film.
Pixar.
This is my new standard for like Pixar films. So if that says anything, I really just like the colors, because it's all, like Day of the Dead stuff, and they use a lot of very fantastic, beautiful colors. Music is awesome. Animation is beautiful. So that is my number 8.
Nice. My number 8 is a movie that came out also in 2019, just because 2019 was a banner year for movies. Parasite.
Okay.
This is a movie that is directed by Bong Joon-ho, one of my favorite directors out there. He also did Okja, and probably one of his most famous movies, Snowpiercer. His movies are just absolutely incredible. Is Peter nodding at you?
No, he turned the fan on. It is hot as heck in this. And when I saw him stand up, I was like, yes, thank you.
Right. Yeah, it is. I'm tired of these heat waves, man. Just give us the cold and stay in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, this movie is very much about social classes. It's about, this family that kind of is parasites to this rich family, but in a way that they're just trying to make ends meet. And the cinematography in this movie, the way it's directed, the dialogue, it's all in Korean, but it is just haunting. It's absolutely thrilling.
I didn't know Snowpiercer did that one. That's cool.
Yeah, Bong Joon-ho did Snowpiercer along with Okja. His movies are just incredible. This guy is an amazing director, one of the top ones out there right now. And he's from South Korea. He does amazing films. I cannot recommend this movie enough. Please go rent Parasite.
Go to your Blockbuster. Rent it.
Go to your Blockbuster.
So for me, number 7, 2016 movie. I had a hard time placing this one. A big reason why this one is on the list for me is because when I watched it, my family and I went on vacation for, I think, the first time as a family since, oh geez, I mean, it's got to be like 6+ years since we had gone on a family vacation. So this movie is called Leap, and we watched it on Netflix, and it is an animated film. It is about like a dancer, and she's an orphan, and she has like another orphan like friend, and they compete. They both like escape like this orphanage, and they compete to see who can become more successful as like a runaway in a way. And so she's a dancer, and it kind of follows her story, and it's really wholesome. It's a really fun and enjoyable animated movie. And again, like putting it above Coco was a little hard for me too, but I think just because of like the emotional part of it, we all watched it as a family. It was really fun. And so like whenever I see that film, I remember that vacation. I had an enjoyable time. It was just an enjoyable one that like anybody could watch, because we had at the time like a 2-year-old. It was fine for her to watch it. And then all the way up to my mom and my dad, who were obviously a little bit older, they enjoyed it as well. And so it was a good one. I definitely suggest it if you're just looking for like a nice, wholesome little animated film. So it's called Leap with an exclamation mark. Don't forget the exclamation mark.
Nice. My number 7 is Get Out.
Oh, man.
Probably one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. And I almost say horror lightly, because there's honestly not a lot of gruesomeness.
It's thriller, right?
Yeah, it's like a horror thriller. I don't want to spoil absolutely anything about this movie. If you have not witnessed this movie, you need to watch it. The social commentary in this movie is unbelievable. Jordan Peele's, I want to say directorial debut, but I don't
think so. Yeah, I think it is.
It really kind of cemented him as a horror director. Yeah, He's since then done Us, which is another great horror flick. But Get Out is just amazingly acted, absolutely terrifying, and it's a must see for anyone that likes horror movies. Definitely check this one out.
For number 6, came out in 2017. I just watched this movie recently, and it was Baby Driver. I thought that movie was great. It was weird. It was very odd, but it was really good.
Say something real quick?
Yeah.
Baby Driver is my number 6 as well.
Oh, snap. We got the same one. Wow. Nice. Yeah. So, okay. Max and I's number 6 is both Baby Driver. I guess I'll do a quick one if you want to add anything to it. So, yeah, Baby Driver, just a good, like, I don't know any film that's like it, truthfully. I've been trying to think about like a film similar to it. It kind of gives me very Tarantino style. Did he do this film?
No, this was actually done by Edgar Wright.
Okay.
So the guy that gave you Hot Fuzz.
Okay. Okay.
You know, like, he very stylized movies.
Yeah.
I love Edgar Wright. This is definitely like his magnum opus for me, this movie.
Yeah, I got Tarantino style from it, I think only because of when it had some, I don't want to say gory in like a way to like steer people off, but when it had some pretty like intense moments, they were very intense. And like, just like Tarantino films, they go from like 0 to 100. This movie went from like 0 to 1,000. It just like boom. And I was like, oh, this is all happening.
Yeah.
So
Jamie Foxx was incredible in this movie.
And
like,
I think that's why I also was getting like Tarantino style, because of him being in the film, and he's just such that fast paced action, just like he's in it. I was so tense that whole movie. Like Julie, she gets like that, you know, like whenever she gets in these movies, she just like, she covers her face because she can't handle like the intensity. I was feeling that. I have felt this for only 2 movies in my life. One was that Adam Sandler one where he was the gem dealer, where I was feeling like I was feeling legit anxiety from that movie. And then Baby Driver, I was feeling so anxious watching this film, but it's good. Like the fact that it made, I don't get so like emotions and whatnot with films. Baby Driver, that hit a spot with me. That was an intense movie.
It is. It is like you said. It's a movie unlike really anything else out there. It's a crime. It's like Need for Speed on steroids. Like it's like, you know, it's one of those really great crime flicks.
Yeah.
That really takes the crime genre in a different direction.
If Fast and Furious was good.
Yeah, exactly. It's so stylized. The movie is almost entirely like the movements in the movie go with the music.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Everything is surrounded by music.
Yeah.
And so it kind of reminds me of another big movie. I would say, other than this one, the other big movie from Edgar Wright is Scott Pilgrim versus the World.
Oh,
which is very music oriented as well.
Yeah.
He has a great care for his directing in that regard. And this movie's incredible. Love it.
Yeah. Number 5, I kind of cheated a little bit, but that's just because I kind of just think of them as the same. So these movies came out in 2017 and 2019 respectively, and that is the John Wick films. I'm gonna say number 1, even though technically number 1 came out in 2014, but the just John Wick, the story, exactly. The John Wick series, it's like, that one surprises me because, Keanu Reeves, I love him. We've talked about on the podcast. Homeboy's like, he had a prime, died, and came back because he is in a prime again. I mean, he did all the training for these films. And like, as far as action goes, it has the action. It has that he's put a lot of time and effort to be this like assassin hitman guy. And it's not just mindless action though. Like the story you're kind of interested in. It's not like super plot heavy, but it's got you entertained to be like the combo from the just amazingly well done, like stunts and all that kind of stuff. Just at least having that on the background, it's almost like it's just kind of like holding it there a little bit. The films are great, and I also feel like for having three, they've done pretty good. Like all three of them, I've been like, I love that one, I love that one, I love that one. I can't wait for the fourth one. So
he has successfly become this generation's Jason Bourne.
Yes.
This generation's like Lee.
Yes.
Like he's kind of owned it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Great movie.
Yeah. So that whole series is my number 5.
Yeah. My number 5 is a biopic war movie titled Hacksaw Ridge. This movie came out in 2016. Have you seen this movie, Tyler?
I have not heard of it, but I haven't seen it.
So this movie is a Mel Gibson movie, which, as crazy as the man is, I do love his. I love his movies. This movie really hits a heart, This movie really impacted me. It's not in my top 3, but it's definitely right there in the middle, because this movie is about the true story of I'm trying to remember his name, of Desmond Doss, who, without firing a single shot in World War II, single-handedly evacuates and saves 75 men during one of the bloodiest battles of World War II.
Oh, wow.
This is a man of deep faith, deep Christian faith, and he believes within his faith that he cannot kill, that he is not allowed to even hold a gun. And he still feels that he needs to serve during World War II. And so he joins the army, and he heavily ridiculed and bullied by his, squad mates in the war. And this is another one of those movies where it's harrowing, but it's beautiful too, because there is just, I won't ruin it, but there's this moment where you kind of see the moment, you witness the event that makes him famous. And I was sobbing. I like just tears in my eyes. Like I've never seen anything like this done. And the actor that plays Desmond Doss is Andrew Garfield. Oh, you don't see him in a lot, but this kid is an amazing actor. Like
nice.
And he does not get enough credit for this movie.
Nice. I love him.
Yeah, you and I will watch this movie. If you love Andrew Garfield, like we'll watch it.
Yeah, I'm a huge Garfield fan.
You, me, Peter, we have to watch this movie. You guys will watch it. It's so good.
Cool. We are on what, 4 now, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
We are on.
So my number 4, which could easily be in the number 3, but I'll explain why it's not when I get to number 2. So number 4 for me, again, I also just recently watched it, but it came out in 2018, and that is Black Panther. For a long time, I just wouldn't watch this movie. I got really annoyed with Marvel films, and I only got annoyed because, like,
you get burnt out.
I did. I felt like the Marvel films just kept coming out, and I always was like, man, as a kid, and I don't know if it was just me being a kid and my sense of time was different, it just felt like they were more rare. And it was like, oh my gosh, like a Marvel film came out, it's been like a couple years, like this is so great. And then with like these movies, it's like, oh cool, like last 4 months, I had that one, and now this one, and then in 2 months so I was like just like burned out on Marvel films. But in light of his passing, what is his name? I always forget the actor's name that played oh my goodness gracious, hold on, let me look it up real quick. I'm so sorry that I forget his name.
Oh, I'm blanking too. You're fine.
Why is he not coming up as the lead actor, which is also weird?
Let me see if I can find it real quick.
Wow, that's so odd. If you Google the movie...
Chadwick Boseman,
he doesn't show up on the... This is very annoying. You know who, like, it's like Michael B. Jordan, Lupita showing up, Denai, like literally all these people. He's not showing up on this. Isn't that interesting?
That's so weird.
Well, in light of his passing, I was like, yeah, I really want to watch his film because I heard such great things about it. Julie was the one who actually recommended it, and man, that movie was hard to watch because obviously he had just passed away. I think it was the day he passed away we watched the movie, and gosh, the movie was so good. And I just, the whole time I was watching it, I was like, this sucks because I want a second one, but I don't because I know he won't be there. I think they've already talked about what they're going to do, and that could be a later discussion. But it was so good. It was so well done. And it was like the story was so good. It really shows off that like Marvel knows what the heck they're doing. And for what just seems like a spin-off kind of a thing, just kind of bring Black Panther into things, they did such a good job. And I think what I liked a lot about it was that it wasn't very like Marvel Universe heavy. Like, right, I love me some Avengers, and I do like when like Thor and like Hulk did their thing. Like, I think that's cool, but I do love me a good just like dedicated to this group, and that's what they did. They just focused on these people in this like almost underground society, so to speak. And they just did a great job, and it was just so heartbreaking to watch knowing about his passing. But yeah, if you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that one. So that's my number 4.
My number 4 is Little Women, the newest version that came out, gosh, I want to say last year actually too. Another 2019 movie.
2019 was great for you.
It really was, man. There were so many great movies in this year. But Little Women came out. I honestly had never read the book, never seen any previous version of Little Women. My wife is a huge fan of the book, the movies, because this is one of those stories that kind of gets retold in film like every like decade or so. Mm-hmm. And so she went to go see it because there's a lot of big names in this movie. You have Emma Watson. You have, I always butcher her name. Sharshish. It's not Sharshish. It's, I'm not even going to try. I don't want to, because I would feel like I'd be doing her a disservice. Who plays Joe March, Emma Watson, Florence Pugh.
Yes, Sorcy, whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. I never say it right.
Yeah.
But I mean, Meryl Streep is in it. Timothy Chalamet, Laura Dern. Huge names are in this movie. And so Ruthie saw it. She said it was incredible. I need to see it. And I saw it, and it was incredible. And I'm glad I saw it. It's a great, timeless story about these amazing women. Directed by Greta Gerwig, who also did Lady Bird, who is, in my opinion, the best female director out there right now. Her movies are absolutely amazing.
Nice. Number 3, 2015 movie. So just hit that cusp. It is The Martian. So we hit our top 3. So I'll go a little bit more than I have been on the other ones. So for me, The Martian was like, man, just this whole space thing was like really in for me. They just had McConaughey's movie. What was his called again? Where he like
Interstellar.
Yeah, wasn't that like 2014, right?
Yeah, it was like literally the year before, I want to say.
Yeah, like so I saw Interstellar, and I watched that with Peter and I think some of our friends in Beaufort, and that was when we were living there for college and stuff. And man, Interstellar was wild, right? It was such a weird kind of, it was like the inception of space kind of style going on. So I was really hooked on like this space stuff. Then The Martian came out, and like Matt Damon, he's my homeboy, right? I've never met the guy, but if we met, I bet we'd be tight. I love...
Is that every guy?
Right? Me and Matt, we just go back. And I just love him in movies. And being able to see, like, I don't know, man. I've never like thought that I would be like laughing at watching a scientist be stranded and on Mars, but like he did such a good job of like, I really felt like he was stuck on Mars and he was just like trying to just figure it out. And the one scene, and I remember talking about this to my mom after I saw the movie, the one scene that just completely sold it to me on how well his acting was. When he got hit with, I guess spoilers, but it's been 2015, it's been 5 years. When he got hit with that shrapnel and he had to like stitch himself up, the way that they like portrayed him. So first he looked normal skin pigment, like how I'm looking. And then as he's doing this, they like slowly made his face turn more white and more sickly because he was losing blood. His energy to be able to like do like these actions, he was getting slower. You could see his lips were getting more purple. Like he sold it to me. That guy had a massive thing stuck in his arm and he was lodging it out and stitching himself up with whatever the heck he could find and his little like Martian like whatever like home base that he was on. And for me, that acting right there, I was like, wow, that's insane. The fact that I just felt that was so cool. And, you know, seeing him like, I don't know, like I felt like that was real. Like he was just trying to be on the bright side. And he was, I don't know, I feel like with him being a super smart person, right, this would be what they would try to do, just see what he can figure out, see if he can survive. It's kind of like the anime for what's the one where it's like the world turn Dr. Stone. He like comes out of stone. He's like, let me just figure it out. Step one, what do I do? Right. And that's what Matt Damon was. He was like, okay, what do I need? I need food. How am I going to survive? I need to make a base. You know what? Now it's time to figure out if I can do some communication with somebody. And it was just so cool. And it was such a fun movie. And hey, I'm a sucker for a good ending. And if you haven't seen it, it's got a good ending. So that's always nice too. But yeah, The Martian was just so much fun to watch. And typically a lot of these, like a lot of films I don't rewatch. It's just kind of happens. I see it once and I just love my first experience and it's hard for me to recreate that. But whenever I watch The Martian, I still feel the same whenever I watch it. And that is why it is on my number 3, because it's just it just hits me every time. So good.
So good. My number 3 is Avengers Endgame.
Nice.
This for me, I'll never forget seeing this in theaters and the assemble moment happens and just getting chills and just seeing what I've read in comics growing up all my life happening on film in IMAX in front of me. And it brought tears to my eyes because I was just like, I can't believe we are here. Like, I can't believe we have reached this beautiful climax, this beautiful tying up of a bow of 23, however many movies. They landed it perfectly, in my personal. Not only did they land it, they set it up for more movies to come, which, you know, thankfully haven't happened in a while. But I honestly would have been fine if they ended it all here. This movie just kind of shows where we are in filming. The fact that you can have so many characters intertwined like this, the world building that they've built, just, you know, I don't want to talk too long about it, but just everything about this movie, it was just for this 3-hour long movie that just from start to finish kept ramping it up over and over and over again. And it never slowed down and it never got old. And it was just the perfect action adventure movie, in my opinion. I just loved every moment of it. And I mean, who hasn't seen Avengers Endgame? You know, at this, unless you haven't seen Avengers. Oh,
no.
Yeah.
No, I wasn't into them. I was unfortunately not into the Avengers films. I just I just like stories alone. I wasn't too big of a fan of when they were like all together. So
Oh, it's fine. I don't blame you. But yeah, just for me personally, the feat of that alone gave it my number 3.
yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I definitely respect the film. I know from like the Marvel standpoint, and I am a Marvel fan, and it's like I totally know that movie was like the home run of all home runs. Was just
Right.
well, the whole Avengers in general was just like massive. So yeah, definitely hits that title of in our top 3. Number 2 for me, and this one is, I would say, as far as on my list, is probably the most controversial for most people to be like this high up on the list, is number 2. But for me, it's Fantastic Beast and Where to Find Them. And for me, I am such a Harry Potter fan. Oh my word, am I such a Harry Potter fan. And for me, I loved that this movie was all about the magical beasts, because so growing up, I was always like that kid that loved like fantasy, but I love fantasy for the creatures. There's been a few like older book series that I would probably totally recommend like in later podcasts, and I'll have to like dig them up about which ones they were. But there was this one book series I was obsessed with, and it was about these kids who had this book, and this book talked about all these magical creatures. And I remember my grandma actually got me like the magical creature book for like a birthday present or something when I was a kid. And so when I watched Fantastic Beasts, I like felt that again. I was like, oh man, like look at all these like fun, cool, Fantastic Beast creatures and whatnot. I really appreciated that, and I thought like CGI wise was so good. And thinking that this was a Harry Potter film to me was like night and day, because like the movies compared to the CGI that they were doing this one, like to me couldn't compete, because I was like man, right, these are so cool. And like when they first went into the briefcase and like explored and stuff, that was the best moment. I could watch just that scene over and over and over and over again. And watching Newt just be so like wholesome and kind and like true to himself and like what he believed in, I love that too. Because again, like that has that Harry Potter-esque, right? It has the whole like these characters are true to themselves. Like Harry is himself. He is this like hero character, and Ron has always been this friend, and he's always there to have this back. And like Hermione always falls in the like, I know what I'm doing, and I have the brains, right? And with like Newt Scamander, he was just this like this awkward kid, and he wasn't super popular or anything. He liked bugs and creatures, right? And you get into this kind of like shy character, but you see him grow because he breaks out of his shell. I mean, it's like he's hatching himself, because like he goes here to do some studying and all that kind of thing. But then he has friends, right? Like he makes friends that he never thought he would ever have. I mean, he even says in the end of the film that like, I've never had a friend before, and the one I make is a muggle, right? And then like he falls in love and he finds that he can actually like, do that and stuff. And so for me, it's actually better than the Harry Potter series, because I don't know, something about it was just so much fun. I just thought it was so cool. And then I think time period too, I just love older time periods on things, and I think that part of it was really fun. And I don't know, it was just exciting. It was a good movie. So that's on my number 2. It had a lot of hit because I think like there's a lot of plot holes into it, I'm pretty sure, and like there's some things that I don't really agree with for like direction wise that she was going, and she being J.K. Rowling, but I just don't think about that, truthfully. I just had a good time. I don't care where it fits in the lore. I just treat Fantastic Beasts as its own thing. To me, it's not Harry Potter. to me, it's Fantastic Beasts. It is its own standalone, right? I don't think about Harry and Ron and no-nose Voldemort. I just think about, here's Newt Scamander. This is their villain right now. This is his crew. Boom. So that is my number 2 is Fantastic Beasts.
Nice. I love that. No, just because I'm on the opposite spectrum of it, but I love that we have like these like
yeah
idea what we love. For my number 2 is a movie 2017 titled Wonder. And it's based off a book. So this movie is about this boy named August or Augie Pullman, who has a severe facial deformity. When he was born, he had to have 27 different surgeries in order to retain his sight, smell, and hearing. And it's just basically a movie. It's such a feel-good and wholesome movie of just this kid finding his way in school, finding friends, just going through what a kid with that kind of facial deformity would go through, and finding true friends and true people. And this is just a movie all around about just people trying to make their lives work. And it's a beautiful thing to watch because these are they're very simple stories in a way, but it's fun to watch them play out. And it's fun to see Augie kind of form these friendships. And by the end of the movie kind of become the light for that school, kind of this kid that's shown everyone, hey, like, it doesn't matter what you look like. It doesn't matter what disabilities you have. You have the potential to be someone's hero. You have the potential to be to brighten someone's day. This movie, no matter how many times I watch it, moves me to tears multiple times because there are so many moments in this movie that deal with really real things, that deal with depression, that deal with isolation, that deal with wondering if you're ever going to be able to be normal. And it's such a beautiful story, and they brought it to screen just perfectly. And I can't recommend this movie enough. It is just such a sweet, wonderful movie.
Yeah, I definitely second that one. I've seen it too, and it is it's pretty heart tugging at some moments for sure.
That's the perfect word for it. It's a heart tugger.
Yeah,
like will pull the heartstrings for sure.
Yeah, and he has a sister in the movie, and you kind of see like some struggles that she has as well with like the whole situation, and I feel like it's a pretty real struggle for someone of her age, and like she's in like this high school turning point and dealing with like the brothers. So it's they portray everyone, parents and friends and every one of those characters in
very
that
real life. This is very like this feels very like this would be a normal family.
Yeah, definitely. So with that, we are now at our number ones. Which, sorry, my second one, Fantastic Beasts, was 2017, for those who might be wondering. My number one, it too came out in 2017. And for me, that is Spider-Man Homecoming. That has been my favorite movie in the past 5 years. Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel superhero, hands down. I love Spider-Man. Nightwing is my favorite DC superhero, for anybody wondering. But so yes. Spider-Man, I've always loved Spider-Man. It was the first PS1 game I got, was the Spider-Man game. And to me, it was always like Spider-Man was the relatable kid. He was just this nerdy guy, and like he had a couple friends, and his powers were just fun. Like he could swing around, and he could like climb up walls, and he had a spider sense. And so Spider-Man in general has always just like been my go-to. I mean, heck, I think even on like, hopefully I can show it, the background of my phone here, if it decides to, is Spider-Man, and it always is Spider-Man. I always keep Spider-Man on my phone. And so for me, out of all the bajillion first series meets Spider-Man movies that we've done over the years. We have our Toby, we got our Andrew Garfield, and now we have Tom Holland. He is my favorite. I think Tom Holland plays a great Spider-Man. I think that they made this one at a good time because in 2017, Marvel movies are obviously doing super well, right? You had Black Panther in 2018. Max said about like Endgame was recently, and the first Avengers was because the first Avenger was like a little before Homecoming, but then they were doing like Civil War around this time and like the Iron Man stuff. And as far as like they call the MCU, it was definitely the prime around these few years, right? And so this Spider-Man, which I would say all of them I recommend, but nothing beats a good origin film. So Spider-Man Homecoming just plopped itself in, and you got a taste of Spider-Man in Civil War. That was the Captain America versus like Iron Man kind of thing that was happening. That was when you first got a taste of who Spider-Man was, because he made his like debut. He was on Iron Man's side, and it was like, ooh, whoa, who's Spider-Man, right? And so I was getting hyped. And then they finally gave him to us. They were like, here is Spider-Man. You saw him in Civil War. Now here's his film. And so I think that they did a great job, because to me, I just wasn't a Tobey Maguire fan. I don't know if it was because I was younger and he was older and I couldn't relate like I always had to like to me, Spider-Man was like this kid kind of young guy, and he just seemed like an old guy to me because I was a young kid. So like Tobey Maguire just didn't seem relatable. And then Andrew Garfield, he was too cool. He just seemed like a cool dude. I was like, man, he's cool. He played a cool Spider-Man, but I was like, what the heck? Why is he this cool? I thought he was supposed to be more dorky. Like he's rolling in like a skateboard and being like, yo, sup guys, I'm hot. And I was just like, this is so weird. And so I didn't like that. And then Tom Holland, he played this kid, this literally dorky kid who just, he's a nerd. He's like in the math club or something, and they're doing it's like a debate club. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, he's in this little geeky club, and like he's got his friend who's the big old tech nerd, and they just like play video games and do homework. And so I just think that his the way he was doing his character was like really spot on, and I just felt like I was relating more to him in this one. And then visually, it was awesome. Like the web swinging was really cool. It was fun seeing him get like some Iron Man gadgets, because like Iron Man was his buddy, and so like it was fun seeing him have like pretty cool enhancements to his suit, because it made sense, right? The MCU is definitely more about like Iron Man helps you be more technologically advanced, and like the whole what's the organization called that they utilize?
Shield.
Yeah, so Shield obviously is technologically advanced. So I was glad to see that he wasn't just Spidey boy swinging webs. He has like his suit was giving him some like cool abilities, and so I loved it. Homecoming, man, watch it. It's so good. And watch the other ones. Far From Home is the other one, and there's talk of like a new one that'll come out eventually too. So that is my number one, 2017 Spider-Man Homecoming.
Love it. Such a great pick, dude. I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, you called it already, man. I mean, my number one is Mad Max Fury Road.
The Mad Max himself.
I want to make some context here. This movie came out of nowhere. I'm not even joking.
Really,
the Mad Max movies.
Really,
the Mad Max movies were from like the early '80s, like the original trilogy.
Yep.
Played by Mel Gibson. My dad showed me these movies when I was 16. Probably was not old enough to watch these. Didn't care. I didn't care because I watched them. I watched Road Warrior, and I thought, this guy has my name, because my dad would always call me that growing up. He would call me Mad Max. And I thought that was the coolest nickname that I got out of all my nicknames, because being named Max, I get nicknames out the wazoo, especially in high school and middle school. I was called Max Goof, Maximus Prime, Maximus Meridius, Maxwell House, Maximum, whatever. Like whatever. Whatever Max Keeble. Like whatever Max. Like, yeah. Max Keeble.
Oh, jeez.
But my favorite one that no one in school knew about because these movies are ancient is Mad Max. And like Dad would always just be like, "Yeah, that's Mad Max." Like just like whenever I did something cool, and like, oh, that's awesome. I love that. Because I mean, you know me, I almost never get mad. So it's like, but I watch these movies and they are just unlike anything else out there. I know I've already said it, and a lot of my movies kind of portray that of like, I really love films that are just really out of the norm. This movie is set in a post-apocalyptic wasteland in the country of Australia. There is no more water. Everything, I don't know how that happened. I don't care how that happened. The movie doesn't care how that happened. The movie doesn't care to tell you anything.
Not at all.
And that's what I love about it. These movies just say, this is where you're at. This is your main character. Accept it. Enjoy it. And just dive in. It does not hold your hand. These movies are so heavy metal. They're so punk, like steampunk, which is like one of my favorite genres. And this is just one of those movies, kind of like John Wick, where the action does not stop. You are constantly revving up more and more. Mad Max Fury Road is basically a car chase to one place and then back to that place again. And this movie almost has no CGI effects. Most of it is real tech or like real effects. And like, so basically like the premise around it is you have Mad Max, who has maybe 5 spoken lines in the whole movie, played by Tom Hardy, who's one of my favorite actors. And the whole idea around Mad Max is, and he always starts the movie by saying this usually, is, in this world, it's hard to tell who's really crazy, me or everyone else. And so the reason his name is Mad Max is because he's crazy. He's kind of become crazy due to the death of his daughter and wife at the hands of these motor heads, whatever, these crazy bikers. And it drove him insane, and he became known as Mad Max. He drives this amazing Challenger car that I wish I could recreate one day. I want to make it in Cyberpunk, see what happens. But it's basically a story of, he's just kind of this hero that comes out of nowhere and just kind of inserts himself into the true story of Furiosa, who's played, I forget her name, but like she basically is this warrior woman who works for this Morton Joe, who has the last area of green in the wasteland of Australia, and he divvies out small amounts of water to the people living where he is, but he kind of holds it for himself as this tyrant. He has multiple wives. Guy just kind of lives above everyone else in this crazy world. And Furiosa decides that she's tired of it, steals all of his wives, and just completely bolts. And Mad Max just kind of gets sucked into the middle of it, and the story ensues. And this is a story unlike anything I've ever seen. I even remember when this movie came out, people had never seen anything like it. And they were, it was like it just came out of the 80s all over again, today's graphical abilities and cinematography. And people loved it. This movie was considered a masterpiece. A lot of people are saying it's one of the best movies to happen in the last decade. And there's talks of a Furiosa movie spinoff. Mad Max wouldn't be a part of it, which honestly I'm kind of fine with because I love Furiosa as a character, but I want more Mad Max. I love that he's just kind of this man who kind of appears out of nowhere, does what he can to help or to get out of the situation, and then he just kind of disappears. And that's kind of what happens at the end of this movie. You kind of realize it was never about Max. It was about Furiosa. It was about her journey. And he was just kind of there to help her get to where she needed to go. And And so I highly recommend this movie if you have not watched it. It will be bonkers crazy, and you'll enjoy every minute of it. At least I hope you will.
All right. So there, my friends, is our top 10. We will definitely be posting top 10 and links and all that kind of stuff on our YouTube and the description, and then on the Spotify and Apple podcast whenever you decide to listen to it afterwards. So we'll make sure that you can always remember our top 10. And I would love to look at this again one day and look back to see what it was and kind of reminisce on all that. Yeah. But I think with that, we are going to hit upon our last topics. Do we want to do games we're playing? I'll be honest, I have none. I don't know if you have any this week.
No, I know that this is running long, so let's just go ahead to do the entertainment of the week and close it out.
Cool. All right. So as always, Max and I love to give some entertainment of the week. And so this week, the entertainment that I recommend is called Megalobox. This is an anime that you can watch right now on Netflix. It came out in 2018 originally, so Netflix must have just recently acquired the ability to be able to play it on their platform. It is a boxing anime, which, fun fact for everybody out there, boxing animes are my favorite genre. I don't know.
Hajime no Ippo?
Oh my gosh, it's the best. Something about boxing, man. I think it's one of the few sports that I really got into as a kid. My dad loved boxing, and it was the one thing that me and him kind of related on a lot. And so anime boxing is just so much fun to me. So Megalobox is an anime boxing film or anime, and it's pretty nice. Max has been telling me that the same people who did Samurai Champloo and what else was the other one?
Cowboy Bebop.
Cowboy Bebop, that's right. They're done by the same person, which is great. It's so good. And the one nice thing, which is kind of why I'm also recommending it, I'm not 100% done with it, just full disclosure, but I know it's going to be great. I do know that episode 13 has a good finish to it. And that's kind of a big reason why I'm recommending this. Sometimes there's animes that you watch and then they don't end, and then it's kind of just well, it kind of ended, but if you want to read more because there's manga, or oh, well, there's it kind of showed, but then there wasn't enough funds to make it a season 3 or whatever it might be. But with this one, from what I saw and what I could see of other people talking about it, it's a good, let me watch some 13 episodes. And let me just enjoy a story that has a start and a finish. So that's a big one why I'm recommending it. So if you have Netflix, you can watch it there. You can probably watch it however else you watch anime. Hey, I'm not judging however you want to do it. So that is Megalobox. So yeah.
I was just about to ask you. I actually have never seen Hajime no Ippo, and I've always wanted to. I've always wanted to see it.
Yeah.
So if you happen to have all the episodes of this anime, let me know.
Yeah. You we have both kind of talked about how we do enjoy that older look to anime. And it has that older look to it. And it's just,
I love it.
I don't know, man. It's just wholesome. It's so good. It's so that's a good one. That'll be next week's recommendation.
Hajime no Ippo, yeah. All right. So for me, I'm going to be recommending actually a game called The Golfing Dead. So this is actually a game I played recently with some friends of ours, and it's just super fun. It kind of reminds me of Exploding Kittens or whatever the game is.
Oh yeah.
Where basically you play this game, you kind of create you get served cards, you create a 3x3 grid, so you have 9 cards in total for the 9 holes, and you play 2 rounds for a total of 18 holes. And you basically, it's just like golf. Your goal is to have the lowest score possible at the end of the 18 holes. And it's basically a game of chance. You're flipping over your cards and seeing, what you parred or what your score was for that round. but there's cool like little zombie cards you can play to switch them out with competitors. Like there's like a quicksand card, there's revival of the dead, and honestly, the zombies are just like a fun little flair they throw into the card game to like make it goofy, but it's basically a golfing card game.
Gotcha.
But it's really fun. If you really like quirky card games like that, I highly recommend it. And you can buy it off Amazon for not too much money, I believe. But I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it.
Boom. There you go, folks. There is our weekly recommendations. I kind of like that we have been hitting like totally just different things all the time. We've done board games and animes and video games and movies, and it's fun.
TV shows.
I like that we do that.
I do too. For my knowledge, what's the runtime for this one? I feel like this is our longest.
So we had like a 10-minute intro, so we were at about 2 hours on this one.
Yeah, this is our longest one. Woo!
Pretty dope. Pretty dope.
We did it.
Cool. So I will be sticking around a little bit afterwards to talk to the chat a little bit on my Twitch. But as far as our podcast goes, thank you all very much for tuning in for episode 6 of the Calling All Nerds, where you get your amazing Nerd Alert podcast. My name is Tyler. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that kind of stuff. Mr. Teenator. Max, where can they find you?
You can find me at MadMax528 on Instagram. You can find us also on Spotify and iTunes, as we stated at the beginning of the podcast, by just searching Calling All Nerds. Our podcast is now officially there. We're trying to, do new stuff every single week. We just did thumbnails last week, which was really fun. But we're just really enjoying the ride. I think it's amazing that we were able to do our longest show yet being remote, and that it went smoothly. So
it did.
Just thank you all for listening. Thank you for being a part of this journey with us. I can't believe we're 6 episodes in. It's kind of surreal.
It is. All right. Well, we will see you all again next week. Hope you enjoy. Have a good weekend. We'll talk to you later. Peace.
Bye, guys.